The billionaire visited his maid's house, and what he saw there made him cry. There are moments in life that catch you off guard. Moments so quiet, so ordinary on the surface, that you almost miss them. Almost. It was a Tuesday morning, not a Monday. When people expect change, and not a Friday. When they're too tired to care. Just a plain, unremarkable Tuesday. The kind of day that doesn't ask anything of you. Carter Ellison had been sitting in the back of his car for 45 minutes, watching the rain streak down the window, when his driver pulled into a neighborhood he had never visited before. The kind of neighborhood where the lawns are small but carefully tended, where the driveways hold one car, not three, where the houses have history in their walls, not the glamorous kind, but the real kind, the kind that comes from years of showing up. Day after day, no matter how hard things get. Carter was 53 years old. He had built a company from nothing, lost people he loved, made more money than he ever expected, and somewhere along the way, had started to feel a slow, quiet kind of emptiness that no boardroom victory could touch. He wasn't sure why he had agreed to come here today. His assistant had suggested it. Something about visiting the woman who had worked in his household for 11 years. Something about a situation. He hadn't asked for details. He probably should have. The car stopped in front of a small house. Stone walls. A red-tiled roof that had seen better days. Laundry drying on a line in the side yard, moving gently in the morning breeze. A porch with two mismatched chairs. The kind you pick up one at a time when you can afford to. Carter stepped out of the car before his driver could open the door. He straightened his jacket, looked at the house for a long moment, and walked up the porch steps. He knocked, and what happened next would change him in ways he never saw coming. The woman who opened the door was named Dorothea May Willis. Everyone who knew her called her. She was a slim woman, poised and quiet, with the kind of bearing that comes not from wealth or privilege, but from years of carrying herself with dignity through things that might have broken someone else. She wore her blue uniform, the one she always wore on workdays, because it was a Tuesday, and on Tuesdays she was supposed to be at Mr. Ellison's estate by 8 in the morning. She had called in the day before to say she'd be late. She hadn't said why. When she saw Carter standing on her porch, her expression shifted, not with embarrassment exactly, but with something more careful. Something that said she wasn't used to being seen like this. "Mr. Ellison," she said. "I wasn't expecting." "I know," he said. "I'm sorry to come unannounced. I wanted to check in. Make sure things were all right." She studied him for a moment. The way people do when they're trying to decide whether someone means what they say. Then she stepped back and opened the door a little wider. "You're welcome to come in," she said quietly. "I've just put on some coffee." Carter stepped inside. The house was small. That was the first thing he noticed. Not in a sad way. In a deliberate way. Every corner held something meaningful. A shelf of photographs. A quilt folded over the arm of a sofa. Drawings pinned to the kitchen wall in a child's careful hand. A Bible on the side table, its spine worn soft with use. That brought him a glass of orange juice first, an old Southern habit. She explained, making sure a guest had something cold in hand before the coffee was ready. She set it on a small wooden tray alongside a few crackers and a folded paper napkin. Carter took the juice and thanked her, and for a moment neither of them spoke. Outside, the rain had softened to a mist. A bird was singing somewhere nearby. The kitchen smelled of coffee and something sweet, cinnamon, maybe, or maybe just the memory of it. "Your home is lovely," Carter said. He meant it. "It's modest," Dot said, with a small smile. "But it's ours." That word, ours, made him look around again. He noticed then that the drawings on the wall were signed with a child's name. MY, age 7. He noticed the small pair of sneakers by the back door, laces tied in double knots the way a careful parent teaches. He noticed the stack of library books on the kitchen counter, a sticky note on top that said, "Return by Thursday. Don't forget, Mama." "Your daughter?" Carter asked. "My granddaughter," Em said. She poured 2 cups of coffee and set them on the table between them. "Maya lives with me now. Has for the past 14 months. She said it plainly, the way people say things they've made their peace with. No bitterness. No drama. Just the quiet fact of it." Carter didn't push. He sipped his coffee. He waited. And after a moment, Dot told him. Her daughter, Maya's mother, had passed away the previous spring, an illness that came on fast and didn't give them much time to prepare. She had been 31 years old, a nurse, someone who had spent her whole career taking care of other people, right up until she couldn't anymore. She was something else, that said softly. Always had more love in her than sense, if you want the truth. But I reckon that's not the worst thing a person can be. Carter set down his coffee cup. He looked at the drawings on the wall. He looked at Maya's sneakers by the door. He thought about his own mother, who had passed when he was 41. He thought about how long grief takes to settle. He thought about all the Tuesday mornings he had spent in the back of a car going somewhere important, never once wondering what was happening in the houses he passed. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm truly sorry." She looked at him, and for the first time, something softened in her expression. Not sadness exactly, more like the relief of being seen. "Thank you," she said. "That means something coming from you." They sat together for a while after that. Just 2 people, drinking coffee at a small kitchen table, talking the way people rarely do anymore, without hurry, without an agenda. Dot told him about Maya, about how the little girl had her mother's eyes, and her grandmother's stubbornness, which Dot said was both a blessing and a challenge depending on the day, about how Maya had started 2nd grade in September, and had already decided she wanted to be a doctor, which made Dot laugh and cry at the same time every time she thought about it. Carter told Dot things he hadn't said out loud in years. About growing up in a house not much different from this one. About a mother who worked 2 jobs so he could go to college. About the first time he had enough money to take care of her in return, and how she had passed away before he really got the chance. He didn't say all of this at once. He said it slowly, the way old things surface, gradually, in pieces, between the longer silences. At some point, the back door opened and a small girl came in, shaking the mist from her jacket. "Grammy, I found a worm," she announced, holding up a small jar. Dot looked at Carter. Carter looked at the jar. "That is a fine worm," Carter said, very seriously. Maya studied him with the frank, uncomplicated curiosity of a 7-year-old. "Are you Grammy's boss?" Carter considered this. "I reckon I am. But between you and me, your Grammy is really the one who runs the place." Maya nodded, as if this confirmed something she had already suspected. Then she set the jar on the counter and went to wash her hands, because her grandmother's look told her to without either of them saying a word. And something about that small, wordless understanding between a grandmother and a child, made Carter's eyes sting in a way he hadn't expected. He thought about what it had cost to hold all of this together. To lose a daughter and still get up every morning. To put on her uniform and drive across town and take care of someone else's home with the same steadiness and care she had always shown. To come home at the end of the day and be a parent again, for the 2nd time in her life, to a 7-year-old who needed her to be okay. He thought about how many people were doing exactly this right now, in houses just like this one, holding everything together with both hands and never once asking to be noticed for it. He excused himself quietly and stepped back out onto the porch. He stood there for a moment in the soft, gray morning, looking at the laundry on the line. A small dress, a pair of child's socks, a woman's apron, moving in the breeze. He called his assistant. He didn't ask her to do anything dramatic. He wasn't that kind of man, even when he had the resources to be. He just asked her to make some calls, to look into Maya's school situation, to find out about the school with a music program that had mentioned in passing, the one she said she'd love to send Maya to someday if things were different. He also asked, quietly and without fuss, whether there was anything that could be done about Dot's mortgage, to give that woman one less thing to carry. He went back inside. When Dot offered him more coffee, he said yes. When Maya asked him if he wanted to see her worm again, he said yes to that, too. Carter Ellison left Dot's house just before noon. He sat in the back of his car on the drive home. But this time he didn't watch the rain. He watched the neighborhood. He watched the small houses with their careful lawns. He watched a man in a work jacket locking his front door. He watched a woman pushing a stroller up the sidewalk, her coat not quite warm enough for the morning. He felt something that he hadn't felt in a long time. Not guilt. He had done nothing wrong. Not pity. That wasn't the right word at all. What he felt was closer to humility, the kind that comes when life shows you something true about itself, something you forgot to see while you were busy with everything else. In the weeks that followed, things changed quietly. Maya started at the school with the music program. She chose violin, which made Dot laugh, because her late daughter had always said the violin was the most stubborn instrument in the world, and wasn't that just right for their family? Dot came to work with a little more ease in her step. She didn't say much about what had changed. Neither did Carter. That was, perhaps, the most respectful way they both knew how to handle it, with quiet and with dignity, and without making a moment of grace into something that needed to be announced. But there was one small thing that changed between them that Carter noticed every day on the kitchen counter of his estate. That had started leaving a small glass of orange juice each morning, just sitting there, waiting for him, the way it had waited for him that rainy Tuesday at her kitchen table. He never asked her about it. She never explained it. He just drank it. Every morning. And every morning. It tasted like something he couldn't quite name, something warm, and quiet, and true. Some of the most important things in life don't arrive with fanfare, folks. They come on ordinary Tuesdays, in small houses, at kitchen tables, over cups of coffee you didn't plan to share. They come in the form of people who have been carrying more than you ever knew, with more grace than you ever thought to notice. The world is full of dots, full of people doing the quiet, hard, sacred work of keeping life going, for themselves, for their families, for everyone around them, without asking to be seen for it. Maybe the most important thing any of us can do, on any given Tuesday, is take the time to look, really look, and when someone offers you a glass of orange juice, to sit down, slow down, and accept it with the gratitude it deserves. Thank you so much for listening to today's story, friends. If this one touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone in your own life who carries more than they let on, please take a moment to share it. Sometimes the best gift we can give someone is a story that makes them feel a little less alone. If you're new here, we'd love to have you stay. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you have a moment, leave us a comment below. Tell us what part of this story stayed with you, or share a memory it brought back. We read every one, and your words mean more than you know. Until next time, take care of each other out there. And hang in there. Someone, somewhere, is noticing.